Chapter 9. POV. Jura. Jura hovered above the scarred land where famine had been thrown from existence, chest rising and falling slowly. His ki stabilized, then compressed, folding in on itself like a star collapsing. Taking out the scouter he'd stolen months ago, long since cracked and unreliable, finally screamed itself to death. Power level, 115,000 plus and rising. The number didn't settle. It climbed in violent, uneven jumps. Famine's attack had not just wounded him, it had rewritten him. Jura felt it inside his body. His cells no longer reacted to conceptual pressure the same way. Where hunger, decay, and entropy had once found purchase, now they met resistance. Not true immunity but adaptation at molecular level. His unique legendary Super Saiyan bloodline was at work. The legendary bloodline didn't resist reality warping forces. It learned their language and adjusted accordingly. So that's how it works, Jura muttered. His stomach growled, loud and painfully. He hadn't eaten since before the Hydra hunts. The need hit him all at once. This reminds me of my childhood on planet Vegeta, Jura mutters. Without ceremony, he shot skyward, aura muted to a dull shimmer, and turned east. Toward the edge of Germany. Toward the Black Forest. POV. The Black Forest. The forest knew he was coming. Animals fled hours before he arrived. Birds abandoned nests. Wolves vanished into deeper shadow. The trees themselves creaked louder, branches bending as if bracing. Jura landed among them without sound. He moved like a ghost through the dark, relying on hunting techniques from his previous life, learned during tribal initiation, hands snapping out with terrifying efficiency, clapping around the deer's neck. Snap. Thud. The deer died before it understood fear. Moments later, he cooked nothing. Fire was unnecessary for him now. Blood on his hands. Steam in the cold air. Tail swaying slightly. As he ate, his body continued its silent recalibration. Key pathways thickened. Neural response sharpened. Hunger no longer weakened him, it triggered internal rationing, preservation protocols buried deep in his blood. A predator that could starve and still grow stronger. POV. Apocalypse. Famine collapsed to one knee before him. Armor cracked. Aura diminished. The horseman did not beg. Report, Apocalypse said calmly. Famine lifted his head. He adapts to conceptual attacks. Hunger, decay, attrition, they lose effectiveness rapidly. Prolonged exposure increases his resistance and instinctive understanding. Apocalypse smiled. And the cost. ... He still feels it. Initially, pain exists. Vulnerability exists. But only briefly. His adaptation is strange, my lord. Apocalypse turned away, hands clasped behind his back. Then the solution is not starvation. A pause. But overload. We will flood him by constantly changing the abilities used against him before he adapts to one. Famine understood, and for the first time since his creation, he was afraid. POV. Allied Command, Europe. They didn't feel like heroes anymore. They felt like witnesses. Captain America stood in the shadows of a ruined command post, helmet under his arm, staring at grainy footage projected onto a concrete wall. Unknown entities. A blur of impossible speed. Landscapes dying. Jura, the unknown thing with terrifying strength, was actually screaming in pain. This was interesting news. Someone whispered, hopeful and terrified all at once. He bled. Did you see that? Another voice, shakier. That means he can be hurt. We just need to plan something solid and effective. Steve didn't answer, because what he saw didn't look like weakness. It looked like a monster learning from pain and suffering. If he can be injured, a strategist said quietly, then with enough preparation. Quote, the footage cut as Jura vanished into the sky. Silence followed. Steve finally spoke. We're not the hunters in this war. We're just going along for the ride. No one argued with that statement. For the rest of the war, Jura became a whispered name. A shadow some soldiers swore saved them, others swore he savagely slaughtered entire battalions of men like cattle. A horror story that moved through the battlefield, not for either side. Months passed. The war ground on. Red Skull and Captain America had their back and forth like usual. And somewhere in the dark, something far worse was happening. Blank. POV. Freezer-controlled world. The sky burned green. Broly's ship slammed into the planet's outskirts, tearing through hangars and fuel depots as if they were paper. Freezer Force alarms screamed uselessly. Raditz felt it first. His scouter shrieked. Nappa, Vegeta, this reading is. The dust parted. A towering Saiyan stepped forward. Calm. Eyes steady. __. Power levels. Raditz, 5,700. Nappa, 15,382. Prince Vegeta, 42,000. Broly, 1,200,000. Nappa's knees trembled. Raditz forgot how to breathe. Vegeta did neither. He stepped forward, tail flicking once, eyes narrowed, not in arrogance, but calculation. Who are you? Vegeta demanded. I know every elite Saiyan. You're not one of them. Broly inclined his head slightly. My name is Broly. I'm here for Frieza, not you. Raditz laughed nervously. You think you can just. Quote. The ground exploded behind them. A Freezer Force tower folded in half as Broly casually punched it once. Then another. Then the planet's primary refinery vanished in a green flash. Vegeta's scouter shattered. Silence. Vegeta stared not in denial, but recognition. So it's true then, Nappa whispered. He's going to kill him. Vegeta's lips curled not into a smirk. Into something sharper. Good. This is what we all wanted. POV. Jura. Night again. Another city in ruins. Another enemy erased. Jura stood atop a collapsed church, rain washing blood from his hands. His ki pulsed steadily controlled. Far away, across universes, storms were gathering. He looked up at the sky, eyes glowing faintly. Let them come. The horror wasn't chasing him anymore. It was following his wake. Chapter 10. 2 years later. POV. The Black Forest. The Black Forest no longer felt like a forest. It felt like a domain. Trees bent unnaturally inward, trunks scarred with impact craters that never healed. Stone formations had been carved smooth by repeated shockwaves. The wildlife that remained had adapted, faster reflexes, denser bones, instincts tuned to flee before sensing danger. At the center of it all stood Jura. He was taller now, broader. His Saiyan build had crossed the threshold from child to something unsettlingly close to adulthood. His aura was gone. Current status. Age. 11. Saiyan biological equivalent approximately 17. Base power level true 300,000. Active output self-limited 1,000. He breathed slowly, deliberately. You've been circling for 3 days, Jura said quietly, eyes still closed. If this is intimidation, you're bad at it. The air split. Reality peeled. POV. Apocalypse. Apocalypse emerged without theatrics, each step echoing like a heavy bass speaker. The ground sank beneath his feet as if bowing. His armor had changed from the traditional canon armor, sleeker, darker, inscribed with living symbols that crawled subtly across its surface. Behind him, the horsemen stood altered. Stronger, more refined. You have your power ripened for the taking, Apocalypse said, voice layered, ancient. 2 years of isolation, adaptation without direction. Jura opened his eyes. And you spent 2 years throwing minions at me, you know that was a serious waste of time, old man. Apocalypse smiled faintly. Correction. I spent 2 years learning how not to die to you and most effective way to deal with you, an anomaly. He raised a hand. The battle began without signal. The fight, a war of systems. The forest detonated, not from raw power but stacked effects. Gravity inverted in localized pockets. Sound vanished, then returned as weaponized shockwaves directed aimed Jura's senses. Time dilation fields caused movements to smear and overlap, but all these attacks and abilities are effective against city-level threats, not a Saiyan like Jura. Swish. Jura vanished. Swish. Reappeared. Swish. Vanished again. At 1,000 power, His speed was monstrous, far beyond what Apocalypse's enhanced horsemen anticipated. But they still adapted. One horseman released a neural plague, attempting to overwrite Jura's motor signals. It worked. For 0.3 seconds. Jura's body ceased, then rewrote its own nervous pathways. The plague dissolved like smoke. Not bad, Jura muttered, swish, appearing behind the horseman and dropping him with a precision strike that ruptured organs without killing him. But that trick only works once on my kind. Apocalypse's eyes gleamed. Fascinating child. Another horseman unleashed conceptual corrosion, aging matter, draining potential. Jura allowed it to hit. His skin cracked and a hiss escaped his teeth. Then, his cells thickened. Entropy met resistance. Jura countered with an ability he had crafted long before this universe. A compressed key pulse, invisible, razor-thin. It sliced through the battlefield, severing powers mid-activation. The shock also sent the attackers flying backwards. Tumbling across the battlefield, Apocalypse stepped back for the first time. You are not merely strong, he said. You are becoming incompatible with this world's rules. POV. Hydra strike teams. They'd been waiting for the signal. Hidden bunkers opened across kilometers. Experimental artillery fired, energy weapons, psionic disruptors, anti-mutant resonance cannons. The forest screamed. Jura felt them before they hit. He didn't look angry, just disappointed. He raised one hand. A dome of ki unfolded, not explosive, not radiant. Absolute denial. The first volley vanished like ash in the wind. The second bent and hit the mutants under Apocalypse, and the third went flying back to sender and detonated in a backward cone. The Hydra bases collapsed like cardboard. Somewhere underground, scientists died never knowing what killed them. POV. Apocalypse. This was no longer acceptable. Apocalypse shed restraint. His power surged, not explosive, but vast, oppressive. The ground liquefied. The sky darkened unnaturally. Enough, he declared. Show me your limits, boy. Jura's eyes glowed faintly green. Careful, old man, he replied. I'm already holding myself back a lot. You'd be shocked at how strong I truly am. POV. Allied Observation Team. Captain America watched through binoculars that shook in his hands. The forest was gone, replaced by a warped exclusion zone. A government agent whispered, "That's not a mutant, that's a weapon, and we need to capture it, those are the orders." Steve didn't respond, because he saw something worse. Jura wasn't rampaging like expected of weapon. He was controlling the battlefield effectively without breaking a sweat. Prepare the capture protocol, the agent said. If they weaken each other enough, we'll take that opportunity to act. Steve lowered the binoculars. You're planning to put a leash on something that's learning faster than it can be killed. No one answered Steve. They already had orders to follow, and no one wants to be court-martialed. POV. Jura versus Apocalypse. The clash came without warning. Apocalypse struck with layered abilities: force, reality pressure, genetic overwrite. WOOSH. Jura met it head-on, not wasting time with dodging. Bang! His body adapted again. Muscle density spiked. Ki circulation optimized. Defensive responses formed by instinct before attacks landed. For the first time since he became the first mutant, Apocalypse was forced to retreat with raw power alone. This is not the end of our battle, Apocalypse said, voice cold. Zip. He vanished. The battlefield fell silent. Jura exhaled slowly. His power remained at 1000. But the ground beneath him had fused into glass. He looked toward the distant hills, toward the Watchers hiding behind technology and fear. You guys can come out, he said calmly. Or you can wait until I'm done evolving, he. Chapter 11. POV. Black Forest, Dawn. The first shot hit Jura in the shoulder. It didn't hurt. It didn't even register as impact, just a faint pressure, like rain striking skin. He didn't turn. Another shot followed. Then 3 more. Energy nets bloomed in the air, humming with containment fields designed by the sharpest minds the US government had left after the war. Jura sighed. You waited too long, he said calmly. POV, US government capture team. They moved anyway. Agents rushed in from 3 angles: enhanced soldiers, prototype armor, experimental shock batons crackling with power meant to disable mutants. Captain America was already there. Shield raised, jaw set. Stand down, young man, Steve called. No one needs to die here. Jura finally turned. His eyes were steady. You came to put me in a box, Jura replied. That's already enough violence for me. An agent lunged. Jura stepped aside, didn't strike back. The agent tripped over nothing and slammed into a tree hard enough to knock himself unconscious. Another fired a concussive blast. It hit Jura square in the chest. He didn't move as the blast hit. The blast dispersed around him like mist against stone. Steve threw the shield. Jura caught it, effortlessly. He looked at it, curious, then handed it back. You believe in limits, Jura said. Rules, lines, control. Steve caught the shield, tension written across his face. Without those, power becomes tyranny. Jura nodded once, and without strength, he replied, ideals get buried under rubble. I don't rule over anyone, Jura continued. I survive, adapt, grow stronger from every challenge. That's the Saiyan way. Steve searched his face. Then what are you running from? Jura looked up, past the trees, past the sky. Nothing really, he said quietly. I'm choosing my own way of gaining strength. That way will get me into a lot of conflicts. And right now, I'm leaving for a while. He took one step back. Reality bent, and he was gone. POV, Kami's lookout. Kami's divine senses felt it. A storm moving elsewhere. He turned slowly, hands clasped behind his back, gaze settling on the small figure below. Kakarot, 5 years old now, was upside down, balancing on his head while eating a fish. Too strong, too wild, too bright, so it begins early, Kami murmured. Roshi felt it too from his island. Gohan felt it from his bones. Kami descended to the Earth realm, ready to lend a hand in guidance. POV, Grandpa Gohan. The old man nearly dropped his staff when Kami appeared. I figured you'd come eventually, Kami, Gohan said cautiously. Kami smiled faintly. The child shakes the world in his sleep, and when the moon rises, he replied. He needs guidance or he will go down a dark path. Roshi arrived soon after on his spinning turtle. He was grim, serious in a way few had ever seen him. I'll help, Roshi said. But this one's different. Kami nodded. Stronger beginnings invite stronger trials, and this boy will experience a lot more difficulties in the future. Thus began a subtle change. Goku's training stayed familiar, movement, discipline, control, but the ceiling was raised. Enemies would come sooner. Challenges would be harsher, but the timeline remained on course. POV, Jura. The universe folded, unfolded. Jura emerged standing on scorched stone under a violet sky, the planet he had once used as a training ground, abandoned, forgotten. The air felt familiar, heavy with ki. He let out a slow breath. Home again, for now. What he didn't feel were the eyes watching. POV, Frieza Force Deep Space Observation Node. A hidden scanner flared to life. Energy readings spiked. Impossible readings. The technician froze. Sir, we've detected a spatial breach. Source. The commander snapped. Numbers scrolled, then glitched, then stabilized. It's him. The data burst across subspace. POV, Dragon Ball Universe, 2-year recap. Broly. Broly had not slowed down. After attacking Frieza's assets, he vanished, leaving entire sectors destabilized. Worlds fell into chaos not from his rule, but from the absence of Frieza's grip. Rumors spread of a green-lit demon who destroyed fleets and left a few survivors alive. His power continued to climb. Untrained, unleashed, ... Vegeta. Prince Vegeta changed. Watching Broly had done something to him. Arrogance sharpened into ambition. Training intensified. Strategy replaced bravado. He didn't chase after Broly, instead he prepared for him. Frieza. Frieza trained relentlessly. He was fueled by the paranoia of the Super Saiyan and the rapid growth of the observed mutant Saiyan brats. He learned to hold his final form longer, stabilize it, refine it. His power grew rapidly over time. And now he was ready. POV. Frieza. Frieza stared at the projection. Jiro's energy signature pulsed slowly on the display. Familiar. Unwelcome. How dreadful. More monkeys to deal with, Frieza said softly. His smile was thin. 2 Saiyan variables. He tapped a claw against the armrest. Prepare contingencies, he ordered. This time, I won't underestimate the children. The universe trembled from power and from the intent behind it. POV. Jiro. Jiro sat cross-legged beneath the alien sky, unaware of the net tightening around him. So, he murmured, eyes opening. Let's see how much this universe has changed without me. Chapter 12. POV. United States, post-war shadows. They didn't call it a task force. On paper, it was a Special Research and Response Division, tasked with monitoring anomalous human variants. In practice, it was something far uglier. They called it Sentinel Initiative, Zero. The footage of Jiro, blurred, distorted, half-myth, played on a loop in a secure underground briefing room. A general spoke first. This is the future of warfare. Not clunky tanks. Not causality causing bombs, rather individuals. A scientist followed. He ignored our strongest weapons and didn't even acknowledge Captain Rogers as a threat or as a figure of authority. A third voice, quiet, calculating. Which means we don't engage head-on. We study it, then find a way to isolate the we neutralize with preparation. Files slid across the table. Mutants, psychics, enhanced humans. Contingency plans were drafted not to fight beings like Jiro, but to survive them long enough to learn. Above ground, the world celebrated victory. Below ground, humanity prepared for gods. POV. Apocalypse. Apocalypse watched history move forward without him. The war ended as predicted, even though there were unforeseen events. Flags changed and old-world empires fell quietly, perfect for his future plans. He did not need chaos right now, rather he needed time. In buried sanctums and forgotten temples, his machines hummed. Genetic libraries grew. Horsemen were reforged again and again, discarded when insufficient. The age of testing is over, he said to the darkness. The age of evolution begins. Somewhere in the future, he would not challenge evolution. He would be it. POV. History moves on. Hydra fell. Red Skull vanished into myth. Captain America plunged into ice and legend, his last battle echoing exactly as history remembered it. The world turned. New fears replaced old ones. And still, no one forgot the thing boy that walked through the wall like a horror story. POV. Jiro. Jiro hovered at the edge of the dying atmosphere, stars spilling endlessly before him. His ki unfurled completely. It wrapped around his body like a living mantle, emerald and white interwoven, stabilizing pressure, recycling energy, hardening against vacuum. He remembered this from the original Broly. With a single pulse, he launched himself into deep space, reaching and surpassing light speed. Just will and power. Let's find out where I stand in the current timeline, he murmured. Days passed in silence, broken only by distant stars and faint echoes of civilizations too weak to interest him. Then he felt it. POV. Approaching planet Rakkasha. The planet burned crimson beneath twin suns. Mountains floated. Oceans spiraled upward into the sky like serpents of water. And the ki was beyond his expectation. Dense. Violent. Jiro slowed instinctively. This is some kind of martial world, he muttered. An advanced one at that. He descended quickly. POV. Rakkasha surface. The impact shook continents. Jiro hit like a meteor, stone vaporizing outward in a perfect ring. The shockwave flattened forests and split the ground miles away. He stood at the center of the crater, aura fading as dust settled as he waited for the usual. Silence followed. Then from the distance, three presences locked onto him instantly. POV. RAKKASHA Scout Unit. They arrived without ships. They ran across the sky, stepping on condensed key-like solid ground. Three warriors. Tall, lean, marked with glowing tribal marks etched directly into their skin. Their leader's eyes narrowed. Foreign key, he said. Primal and aggressive. Another sniffed the air, lip curling. A Saiyan. The third's hand dropped to his side, key crackling around his fingers. And that means Frieza. They spread out instinctively, forming a triangle. Average power levels. Scout 1, approximately 2.8 million. Scout 2, approximately 3.5 million. Scout 3, approximately 4.1 million. Jura smiled faintly. This might actually be difficult. POV. Frieza. Frieza floated in his private chamber, tail swaying slowly. Three energy signatures pulsed on his display. Jura returned. Unpredictable. Adaptive. Broly, rampaging. Untrained. Monumental. Vegeta, growing. Focused. Dangerous potential. Frieza chuckled softly. How tiresome it would be to fight them separately. He tapped a claw. Begin the whispers. Misroute intelligence. Leak locations. A predator engineering a feeding frenzy. Let the children exhaust themselves by squabbling amongst themselves, especially that ambition-driven prince of all monkeys. Frieza purred. Then I'll remind them what a true emperor looks like. POV. Jura. The Rakishan scouts moved first. One vanished, reappearing mid-strike with a spiraling keyblade that warped space. Jura leaned aside. The blade shaved a strand of hair from his head. He blinked. Oh, that's a dangerous attack, and his grin widened. You're fast. The forest behind him detonated as the second scout unleashed a pressure wave that crushed matter into dust. The third raised both hands, forming a sigil that bound gravity itself. Jura felt his body dragged downward. His legendary bloodline stirred, alert, hungry, learning. Good, he said quietly, aura flaring just enough to crack the gravity bind. Very good. The universe had finally given him a world that didn't break on contact. Chapter 13. POV. Planet Rakkasha. The first strike nearly killed him. Not because it was fast. Because it was a focused attack, one used by masters of their own craft. The scout leader didn't rush, didn't roar, didn't posture. He stepped into Jura's blind angle with a precision born of centuries of refined combat doctrine and drove two fingers into Jura's sternum, tap. The key behind the strike folded inside Jura as it was injected like vaccine into his key system. Jura felt his heart stutter and hiccup. His lungs were empty after that one attack. Whoosh, bang. His body slammed into the ground hard enough to crater stone and kick up a wall of crimson dust. Power level, 300,000. Right-pointing arrow 318,000. He rolled, barely avoiding the follow-up blast that shaved the crater deeper. He's not Frieza's dog, one scout said, voice calm. But he is Saiyan still. Then we break him quickly, the leader replied. Before his blood remembers what it is. They moved as one. The Rakishans did not fight like Saiyans. No rage surges. No brute force dominance. They fought like calligraphers, writing death into the air. One scout attacked high, feinting with spiraling key constructs that bent light. Another attacked low, using high-energy pressure kicks that detonated after contact. THWAK, THWAK, THWAK. The leader stayed back, watching, learning. Jura blocked, then screamed as the delayed detonation ripped through his ribs. Snap, crack, bone cracked, blood sprayed. Power level, 318,000. Right-pointing arrow 351,000. He staggered upright, breathing ragged. Okay, he coughed. That one hurt like hell. The next exchange was even worse. They read him like a book. These opponents have dealt with Saiyans before. Every Saiyan habit, every instinctual overcorrection, every reflexive counter was anticipated and punished. Jura took a knee, injuries piling up. The ground beneath him pulsed with enemy ki. Power level, 351,000. Right-pointing arrow 410,000. His legendary bloodline stirred, whispering to his Saiyan instincts, telling him to let go. Jira's eyes sharpened. His movements changed. He stopped trying to overpower them, started copying them and began relying on timing. A mirrored stance, a stolen footwork pattern, a ki flow redirected internally rather than projected outward, creating an amateur ki armor beneath the skin. The second scout lunged. Jira anticipated the strike and pivoted left, snapping a right elbow into the scout's throat with surgical brutality. Crunch. The scout crashed backward, stunned but alive. Power level, 410,000. Right-pointing arrow 520,000. The leader's eyes narrowed. He's learning our art. Then end this before the Saiyan scum disgraces our martial arts, another replied. They did not hesitate. The sky darkened as they synchronized. A tri-sigil formed, gravity body lock, momentum stagnation, and ki compression layered into one execution technique. The air screamed. Jira was pinned in place, body being crushed under the pressure, eyes bleeding as a result. His vision blurred red from the blood. Veins bulge from the strain. Power level, 520,000. Right-pointing arrow 610,000. Right-pointing arrow 680,000. His legendary Super Saiyan bloodline screamed in defiance. His blood burned. Don't die. Adapt. The whisper turned into a primal snarl. The scout leader observed the Saiyan teenager. The leader descended slowly, hands glowing with condensed annihilation ki. You are impressive, young monkey, he said calmly. But evolution without control ends in self-extinction. Without more words to Jira, he struck. A charged ki sphere shaped like an atom hit Jira point blank. Jira's world went white. Every nerve screamed. Every memory of battle, of Earth, of Hydra, even of Apocalypse and his horsemen, followed by his past hunger and pain of losing his mother of this world, collapsed into a single point. His heartbeat thundered. Once, twice, then, snap. Green light exploded outward. The crater disintegrated. The sky split. Jira screamed, not in triumph, but in raw, feral agony as power tore through him faster than his mind could contain it. His hair spiked wildly, aura jagged and violent, ki flaring like a living storm. This wasn't calm. This wasn't mastered. This was pure instinct unleashed. Transformation achieved. Super Saiyan. Unique legendary variant, unstable. Multiplier, x 350. Base pre-transform, approximately 700,000. Transformed output, approximately 245 million. The Rakshans staggered as the surroundings shook so violently that even staying airborne was a luxury. The second scout vomited blood instantly as the shockwave washed over him. The leader slid back, boots carving trenches in the ground. This is impossible. He was supposed to be dead, he whispered. Jira lifted his head. His eyes were no longer fully his own. They burned. Jira vanished, erased the distance between his target with speed that would make the Flash blush. His fist connected with the leader's enhanced guard, and shattered it. The shockwave obliterated mountains behind them in spreading cone of destruction. The leader was launched across the horizon, skipping like a stone across the multiple continents of this Jupiter-sized planet. The second scout attempted a counter-glyph meant to disrupt ki. Jira screamed and tore through it, his aura adapting mid-charge, neutralizing the ki construct and slamming the scout into the ground with enough force to expose magma and splatter the poor fool across the rubble. The third tried to flee. Jira appeared in front of him. Stopped, hands shaking, breathing ragged. His mind screamed warnings. Too much. You'll lose yourself. He roared and slammed the scout hard to the ground until he was unconscious instead of killing him. The transformation flickered violently. Green aura surged, then collapsed. Jira dropped to one knee. Blood dripped from his mouth. Power level, stabilizing, approximately 1,200,000. Base post-battle. The leader crawled from the rubble, armor shattered, eyes wide with fear and awe. You are not a Saiyan, he said hoarsely. You are a catastrophe to this universe. Jira looked at his hands, still trembling, then flew away towards the Badlands. No life there. Time to rest before the next battle, he thought. Elsewhere on the planet, the elders stirred.